back from the past into the present. Um, so in this video, I'm just gonna share, I guess, a thought about. Well, yeah, this is kind of related to the Switch. You know, like yeah, the Switch. So what I'm gonna explain here is, well, I guess the expectations, good expectations for a console that's an upgrade to the previous one. We've seen this before in the past with, SNES being an upgrade to the NES, PS2 becoming an upgrade to PS1, and then later generations followed pretty much about the same trend. Usually, those expectations were better graphics, better, more diverse experience, and yeah. Um, it wasn't until well, people can argue it wasn't until like the seventh generation when it was just uh, you know graphics got a big upgrade. But for me, I think the games like Uncharted or games like Time and Eternity probably wouldn't have been made. I think it, in a previous gen because they kind of needed they kind of needed to be HD, in order to be made. So and in the eighth gen, well, there wasn't really much expectation. Maybe like a more open world, but like a bigger world, but that's pretty much about it. So, but I mean, it was an upgrade though. Like the online infrastructure was an upgrade. Graphically speaking, it was pretty noticeable. Not as big as like previous generations before HN, but like just noticeable enough where we see the difference. We can actually see the difference. So yeah, and so that's usually expectations to upgrade to like another console. Um, I think during the seventh generation, I think ever since the seventh generation, OS upgrade was or OS being upgraded to the upcoming console was an expectation for us. I mean, what am I saying? Just that's like the next console to have a better OS than the previous console to. What am I saying too? But just yeah. I mean, sorry for that. I mean, it's I mean, sorry about that interruption. I mean, like ever since the well, ever since the HN, like there were more um the expectation grew with the expectation of a better OS for next system. So yeah, so there's that. And then for games, well, not only do we want better experiences, like more diverse experiences that are possible if you just buy a console, but also being in an upgrade to the previous experience that we had. Um, I guess I'll bring this up. Like if like it like if there's if there's a sequel to a game, I'll just say this hypothetically. No, there might not be a point. Like a game that came out on a Wii U that uses the gamepad pretty well, and the sequel to that game, the direct sequel to that game, comes on a system, an upcoming system. The expectation really for me and all the other guys who played that game would be, dual screen, and to have dual screen and any other, any other new features, I guess, and to see like a noticeable like graphical leap if we're upgrading to a like game that's going to be only on the console that's not on Wii U. I mean, the console that's an upgrade, right? And this kind of segues into conversation of the Switch kind of being a successor to the Wii U or an upgrade to the Wii U with um well, it is an upgrade, yeah, sort of the upgrade OS. I'm pretty sure online services are probably upgraded, yeah. More variety um in controls, motion controls. You know what I mean. So, but in terms of like games that we already played on Wii U that takes advantage of the gamepad, like Splatoon 2 and I want to say like Splatoon and Splatoon 2 being exclusive to Switch. There's that question where why is Splatoon 2 only on Switch besides the company wanting to put this as an exclusive just so they could sell their console. And I'm trying to think about that, and I'm like thinking they could kind of get away with it with the motion or the gyro controls, I guess, um, of the Joy Cons with the dual wielding weapons. They could, but is it mandatory? From the gameplay I saw someone, I think it was a treehouse, use a dual wield weapon with just a pro controller, and that kind of makes me think like, okay, so maybe this could have been done on Wii U, maybe. Um, maybe this could have been done. I mean, any game, people can argue any game that's done from like 8 gen. A lot of games can be done on the previous gen, just downgrade scaled in graphics, and there's that key phrase, downgrading from like graphics. I mean, what am I saying? Downgrading to graphics. And I'm trying to think yeah, a lot of those games that are only on the PS4 and Xbox One can be done on the Xbox 360 and PS3, but the graphics would be downscaled, right? And that's the thing I'm trying to think about is what about the graphical difference between Splatoon 2 and Splatoon, the original? Is there that much of a graphical difference? Now, I'm gonna just hold on to my final judgment on that because the game is probably gonna go through maybe graphical changes and stuff and maybe look noticeably better than the original one. Maybe. But this is what I'm gonna say is like if the Switch isn't that much uh if the Switch doesn't produce more graphical, like a noticeable amount of graphical capability than the Wii U, that I'm saying from the PS4 to the PS3, the Xbox One to the Xbox 360, is it like, I mean, is it really an upgrade overall? Like the only thing I would say like that the Switch is an upgrade from is the online services and OS. Like that's that's really what I can say confidently that would be an upgrade. But the games themselves, like the reason why they're on the system, besides the company wanted to sell more consoles. Like, I don't know. Like I know graphics shouldn't really matter as much like as other people want it to be. But when you're upgrading to a new console, and the reason for that is to get the games that are only on that console. Are you really upgrading? Like, are you really upgrading to? Are you really upgrading like to a new game that can only be done on the system? And I mean, that's what's kind of this is kind of I guess about like I guess is just imagine yourself like you played a system and you played certain games. Those games had sequel or direct sequels to have or and direct sequel. I mean, direct sequels of those games are coming to the next console, but the console doesn't show that significant amount of or not what I'm saying, noticeable amount of graphical upgrade from the original games. Are you? Is that really, I guess, a justifiable upgrade? I mean, for games reason. I'm just gonna say for games reason because the main reason to get a console is for games, right? So I'm just saying, I mean, just kind of to just think about, like, and I'm gonna just and then just with I guess the example I'm gonna just say, like, okay, so you're upgrading from Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 2. Is that really an upgrade? Well, reasons for that not to be an upgrade would be you won't have dual screen gameplay, and um, the graphics don't look that much noticeably different from the original. Um, and those are two key things that are like that pretty much just kind of like kind of just like makes you think like are we really upgrading to like a new system or what am I saying, like upgrading like to a new system game, I'm just gonna say, right? Or are we just switching? Like we're giving up the dual screen for the motion controls, and the motion controls are not optional. Well, what am I saying? The gyro controls are not optional. Among what I'm saying, are optional. And the graphics are not that much noticeably different than the original. Like, I mean, like maybe a little bit different, a little bit, like less, like it's probably like a significant less of a leap from Xbox 360 to Xbox One or PS3 to PS4. And yeah, so I mean, I'll just say like the expectations to upgrade from another game to the sequel to that game would be what I mean by upgrading, I mean like upgrading to another system just to get that game would be the game would have a noticeable amount of graphical upgrade and more features, or more ways to play, including the way to play that you had during the previous system. And that doesn't seem like that's the case, like right now for Splatoon 2, because it's losing that dual screen, and the graphical upgrade is not that noticeable. Like I don't know. I'm looking at gameplay from Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, and I'm just not seeing it. Like side by side, I'm just not seeing that much of a difference, really. So, and not only that, but the fact that the console is like $300 and you're upgrading to a game that's, well, right now that's not that noticeably different than the original. It's got to be something you got to think about. Like, if it's a new game, you don't have to buy. Well, if it's a new game that doesn't look that noticeably different, right? Then you would assume that that could be on you know, the system you already have, because you don't have to upgrade, right? To to a new console, because, well, the game looks pretty similar, right? But that's kind of not the case. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe the game will have a pretty noticeable amount of upgrade to the detail from um uh, compared to the original Splatoon. Maybe. If that's the case, okay, fair enough. It's an upgrade, visually speaking. Dual screen kind of sucks to not have, but oh well. I mean, fair enough. It's an upgrade, and plus, it's not that big of an issue because you can display the map with the button. So, but it kind of sucks, yeah. And that's, I guess, is pretty much it for this one, at least. I mean, has there been proof that maybe you know, this console is upgrading like the experience or enhancing the experience you already had previously? That probably can only be done in this. Well, there is a Mario Kart 8, being upgraded to 1080p 60 frames on the Switch. There's that. So I guess maybe. We'll find out, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But it's just something to say, and for me to just put out, and yeah. So, and also, like, I'll also say this, like pretty much the last thing is, if you were saying there's a 9th-gen console, I understand, like, this might, like, because of Splatoon 2 being on this system, yeah, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 being on the system exclusively. But I'll say it's technically not. And what I mean by that is, well, I guess I'll wait till E3, but it's unknown whether it is a 9th-gen for now. It's unknown. Wait till, like, I would say, let's wait till E3. Let's see if this Project Scorpio is going to be uh, an like a next gen console, as in like an upgrade from the Xbox like One, to the point where like Xbox One won't really be supported with games, and the newest like Halo 7 would be only on the Project Scorpio, we'll say, or Halo, or what I'm saying, Gears of War 5. Well, when we say 5, but I'll just say 7 is only on that system. That's what I mean. So if that's not the case, this year at E3, I think it's safe to say that this is not an ancient console, but you can kind of say that this is, let's just say, Nintendo's, or not Nintendo's, but the 7th generation Nintendo console. Like, by Nintendo standards, I guess you could say, this is the 7th. This is their 7th generation Nintendo console. Yeah, you get what I mean. So, yeah, I'm just putting that out there just so people like think about that. So I mean, what do I see this being as? I mean, from talking to a guy that's involved in the gaming industry, knows a good amount of stuff. He thinks that Mario Kart 9 won't be on the system, understandably, because the development just wouldn't really make it in time. And it seems like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is going to be supported for like 5 years for like this system. So I guess you could say this is like a point 0.5 console in a way where it's like the main series, like the Legend of Zelda uh, game, and like the next Legend of Zelda game after Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 9, and I don't know if there's going to be a new Smash Brothers. Okay, I'll just put it out there. Like Super Smash Brothers 5 wouldn't really be on the system. So if that's the case, I mean, I guess it's a fair argument to say this is kind of a point. This is kind of Nintendo's definition of a point 0.5 console, where newer games that are sequel to the original that take about 3 year development cycle within well, not what I'm saying, 3 year development cycle is only in this system. And yeah, I think it kind of makes sense because I mean you're kind of upgrading to this new console just to get those games, but you're not upgrading to get the next iteration of Mario Kart, like a full generation. Like I think you guys know what I mean. So that's pretty much about it. And as I always say, see you in the future.